Hey, Vlad here from devinsider.com. Welcome to another video. There's a new kit on the blog called the Scala CLI, and we needed why exactly? Let's have a look. The Scala CLI is a new tool created by Virtus Labs in cooperation with Alex Archambault, the creator of Coursier, also known as Corsair. The Scala CLI is supposed to be a one-stop shop to, and I quote, interact with the Scala language. Behind the scenes, it heavily uses tools like Coursier, Bloop, and even Ammonite, but it sort of tries to hide them from us. Most importantly, it installs and manages the embedded versions of them behind the scenes. When I first heard about it, I didn't really understand the purpose, and I'm sure some of you feel the same. For small things like scripts, we already have Ammonite and worksheets, and for big things, we have all kinds of tools like build tools, IDEs, and editors. So what is the Scala CLI for? I took a look at the website and I saw that at least a portion of the audience are students, and that kind of makes sense. As a student, the Scala REPL might not be enough for my needs, and also I don't feel like fiddling around with the Java installation, and maybe I don't need the full power of SBT, so yeah, maybe sort of like a middle ground, it makes sense. But at the same time, I'm not a student, and I'm sure as many of you in the Scala community have wondered, why do we need another build tool? And is it even another build tool? The website claims that it's not, but it sort of feels like it. In any case, I simply skimmed through the website and moved along with my life. However, a while later, I took another look and I actually changed my mind. It actually can be useful even for people who know what they're doing. And so here's what we're going to do today. First of all, it's the early days, and even though it already has a lot of features, it's a bit buggy, but since I've been in the Scala ecosystem since 2010, I'm kind of used to it. So all I'm saying is that it's too early to judge. I wish the final vision for it was communicated a bit more clearly on the website. For now, it sort of feels like the next step in the Coursier evolution. In any case, I took it for a spin, and my initial plan was to create some sort of crash course about it. But first of all, the documentation is pretty great, so my video wouldn't have added anything to it. And secondly, it actually has way too many features, so the video would have gotten too long, and I don't feel like creating an entire course about it. And then I thought that I'll just talk about it a little bit and demo a couple of features, but then I stumbled on a bug. Not a bug in the Scala CLI, it's actually a bug in, well, I'm not sure. It could be in Scala 3 or it could be in CATS itself. So here's what we're going to do. First of all, we're going to install it in a brand new WSL2 distribution that has nothing installed, not even Java, because that's one of the things that the Scala CLI offers for us, right? It's going to install Java and all kinds of things for us. Then we'll skim through the help page and play with a couple of commands, and then we'll actually use the Scala CLI to A, reproduce the bug, and B, we'll upload it to GitHub, and so the person who is going to have a look at the bug will be able to use only one command to pull it straight from GitHub and see it in action. As in most of my videos, I'm running Windows, and usually I would have my Ubuntu 2004 distribution running in WSL2 in my Alacrity terminal, which is currently maximized. So this is just the PowerShell that you're seeing. I'm also using the virtual desktops feature of Windows, and I'm using the shortcuts so I can switch between Windows like this and back to the terminal like this, which is technically still Windows. So if I run WSL-L-B, you're going to see that I have 4 WSL2 distributions currently, and we're going to add a 5th one. So let's go and open the Microsoft Store and wait forever until it loads. There we go. So just let's go to search WSL Ubuntu. All right, Ubuntu 2004. There we go. And we're going to click on launch even though it's not installed. So it's actually going to install it. The font is small, but don't worry about it. We're going to exit this terminal in just a second. Username, password again. There we go. We can close it. Close this as well. Run the same command, and you're going to see that we have this one now. So let's go inside. 20.04. I wish we had auto completion. And there we go. Here we are. Now, usually I would run at least an update, but in this case, we actually don't even need it. These distributions come with a couple of tools installed. For example, we already have wget, we have curl, we have Git, probably some outdated version of Git, and it's not because I didn't update it yet, it's because the repositories in Ubuntu 2004 and Ubuntu LTS versions are very outdated. Now, of course, there is no Java, there is no Scala, there is no SBT, nothing like that. So let's actually go to the Scala CLI website and pick one of the installation options. Let's go to the left twice, and I already have it open over here, the Scala CLI website. And if we click on installation, we're going to see the quick start or also the advanced options. If you click on them, you're going to have a bunch of different ones. You can install it with apt, you can install it with nix. For now, we're going to go with the simplest option, which is just using curl and pipe it into the shell. You can still update it like this, right? So there's a command Scala CLI update to actually update it. But if you install it with apt, it will obviously update automatically. Let's go back to my terminal and paste this in. Right, so it installed and says to run Scala CLI, log out, log back in, because it changed the profile. Let's actually have a look real quick. Yeah, so this one line, it basically exported something, right? It put something extra to the path, which is the cache directory for Scala CLI and stuff. Okay, so let's go and actually have a tiny look at it, right? So it's in cache, Scala CLI, local repo, bin, and let's do that. And we see that it's, okay, I wanted to go deeper. And we see that it's 120 megs, not exactly tiny for a CLI, and it hasn't installed Java yet. Let's actually go out and back into the distribution, and we're going to try to do something like which Java, which SBT. None of this stuff is actually here. And the reason why is because it installs everything lazily, right? So as soon as you need it, it's going to realize, oh, you don't have Java on the path, and then it's going to install it for you. Now, one of the things that you need to be careful about it is that it generates files sometimes in your current directory. Some commands do this, some commands don't. So I suggest that right in the beginning, we're going to go and we're going to create a directory. We're going to call it just one, right? And let's actually go in there without the P. There we go. In fact, since it will install bloop definitions and it also has its own files, let's actually create a global git ignore. Let's create a directory inside of config called git, and we're going to echo some stuff into config git ignore, which is the default git ignore file. Okay, so what are we going to put in there? Well, we're going to put in bsp slash and \n. So then we're going to put bloop slash \m, then we're going to put .scala slash, right? We really need to not forget the front slash, because otherwise we're not going to commit our Scala files. Then we're going to do metals, just in case we're going to need it. I'm actually not sure if we're going to need it. And also target slash. All right, so let's actually, what did I do? I didn't pay attention to the make directory. I should have used -p, and now we can actually echo it, and there we go. And now we can actually have a look inside git ignore. There we go. That's not what I thought it would look like. All right, I did not plan on doing that, but let's actually open it. All right, find the backslash, go like this, and remove it, and find the backslash, go like this, and remove it, and find the backslash like this, remove it, and find the backslash like this and remove it, and that's a little bit better. All right, so let's get into it now. Yeah, there we go. I thought it would actually understand the backslash n. All right, so let's clear the screen and run the man page for Scala CLI, and we're going to realize that it's not there. If we just run the Scala CLI, it would actually run help for us. So if we scroll up, one of the first things that it actually tells us is that there's also a full help command. So let's actually run this one. So we're going to do this, and we're going to do full help or help full, doesn't really matter. If you spell it correctly, there we go, full help. And now we see a couple of options that usually would be hidden. We're going to go through it real quick, but before that, let me actually show you Scala CLI directories, which is what you see over here. There we go. These are the directories that are used by the Scala CLI. Let's go up real quick and have a look at a couple of them. So there we go. So this is like the usage or help, all the same. By the way, this is one of the pet peeves that I have with the Scala CLI. It offers you way too many things to do like the same thing. For example, like for formatting, there's like 3 commands. There's FMT, there's format, and there's I don't know, some other one that I forgot. So yeah, it can compile to JavaScript, to native code. You can specify compiler flags, Scala versions, really a bunch of stuff. Java Home, different Java versions, resources. You can have tasks. You can have configurations. You can specify the main class. You can control the logging. You have control over Bloop. And you have control over JavaScript stuff. You have control. You can even run benchmarks. I haven't tried this, but apparently you can. A bunch of native configurations. You can pass dependencies straight from the CLI. By the way, I heard some people didn't really like it. They were like, what am I going to do? Am I going to pass like 20 flags? No. Like if you create like these Scala scripts, there's a way to pass a bunch of things via the comments. We're going to get to that actually. Anyway, a bunch of other options, basic commands like clean, compile, console, REPL. Again, two things. They do exactly the same thing. You can package your application. You can even package it into a Docker container, run stuff, test stuff. Yeah, see the three ways to format the code. Like why? Like if it's for students, then don't give them 3 ways to shoot themselves in the foot. In any case, a bunch of other commands. Yeah, this is an important one, right? So we don't have like the Bloop CLI, right? So we cannot like do Bloop start, right? Because it installs like managed versions of them. So it gives you like it gives you a way to access them through the Scala CLI, right? So instead of this, you would actually do a Scala CLI, and then you would do Bloop start, right? Actually, let's actually do this. It's going to realize, okay, there's no Bloop, there's no Java, so it's going to install Java, it's going to install Bloop. It would have done this for us eventually anyway. So I'm going to give it a couple of seconds to download Java, but I'm going to cut it out from the video. All right, Bloop server started. Let's actually exit. There we go. Stop Bloop server. Nice. Let's actually go and do install completions. It automatically detects the shell. I believe it currently supports bash and ZSH. I don't know if it supports fish. It put something into my bash RC, so let's go and check. And there we go, Scala CLI completions, this part. All right, so let's go out, let's go back in, and let's go into dev1. There we go. All right, so let's do something like Scala CLI and then version. Yeah, there we go. Tab, we have our completion. Let's also do about. Let's also do REPL. There we go. So now it needs to actually download the REPL. All right, this is the Scala REPL. Let's actually get back out because usually like if you start something, it should usually show you like the Java version and stuff. It doesn't currently. Thought it would. So let's do 1 + 2. And there we go. It's 3. We can actually also specify the Scala version 3.1.0. There we go. So it downloads 3.1.0. Like usually when you run things, like I actually forgot about the REPL, but usually when you run things, it actually tells you which version it is. Yeah, this is exactly what I was expecting, before. So by default, I thought I would also display the version, but somehow it didn't. Yeah, it's weird. All right, so in any case, as you have seen, we can actually use a different version. So now it's cached, so it's going to be very quick. So 1 + 2 works exactly the same way. You can also run the Ammonite REPL. Right, so you can do -amm. I'm sorry, 2 hyphens. And there we go, like this. So now it will actually download the Ammonite REPL. Right, it's all lazy. There we go, 1 + 2. As we can see, it's Scala 3.02, so I guess it is not published yet for Scala 3.10. It's going to try to download it, and it's going to fail. Let's try 2.13.7, and there we go. It downloads it like 2.13.7, also not published. How about 6? And that looks much better. So 1 + 2, and if we exit, we actually don't have the Ammonite command, I believe. Yeah, we don't. So everything is embedded, everything is managed by the Scala CLI. Let's clear the screen. You can also just take some, by the way, let's actually have a look if it generated something. No, so far it hasn't generated anything. But if we're going to do something like this, right? So print line hi, there we go, like this. And we're going to pipe this into the Scala CLI, and then let's say that we want the Scala version 3.10, and we need a hyphen in the end. Don't forget the hyphen, like this. Okay, so it actually starts Bloop, does some stuff, and there we go. We have our hi. So if we do ll, we still don't see anything. I swear to God, eventually it will create some files. You can also run substitutions. That actually didn't work for me in ZSH. However, I believe in Bash it will actually work. The small sign and the brand, no space between them. And we echo something like print line by, there we go. Close this, close that, and enter. And there we go, 310 by. Let's actually try this with, the built-in Scala version. So the built-in one is the 302. Okay, so if the Scala CLI gets an update, it will probably be updated to 310 as well. Let's see, did it generate anything? No, it didn't. All right, so maybe it will generate stuff if we actually pipe stuff into files. Okay, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna pipe this into main. We're gonna call it main1.scala. So what we're gonna pipe into? Well, we're gonna do object main extends app. And we're going to do this without these spaces because I want to show you the formatting command a little bit later. So we're going to do hello world like this. Okay, so if we cat into main1.scala, we're going to see exactly this. So let's actually try to use the Scala CLI on main1.scala. There we go. Hello world. Did it generate something? Yes, it did. So now it actually generated .bsp and .scala, which is also why we added them to the global git ignore. Let's actually run the same thing for Scala 3.1.0. There we go. And also for 2.13.7. There we go. Very fast because everything is cached. Everything is already downloaded. I just said very fast and now it takes forever. Probably it compiles the bridges and doesn't actually let you know what it does behind the scenes. In fact, maybe we can actually do -v for verbose, and maybe another -v. Yeah, a bunch of other stuff, and maybe another -v. Right, so a bunch of stuff, so you can look at it at your own pace. If you prefer, I'm going to clear the screen and press enter again like this. So this is the main one. Let's actually create main2. So we're going to do main2.scala. All right, and over here we're going to only do Scala 3 stuff. So we're going to do at main def main equals print line. We're going to do hi instead of hello world like this. All right, so now we're going to do Scala CLI main2.scala. There we go. It's fine. And 3.1.0, it's fine. And now if we do 2.13.7, we should see a compilation issue because this stuff is not supported in Scala 2.13.7 yet, and probably never will be. We can also do Scala CLI doc, but it will warn us that we have two main methods that are also called exactly the same way. So we can actually do, and I prefer to specify to use the latest Scala. Okay, so we can specify the main method like this. So we can do main. Actually, what am I doing? I just said that they're called exactly the same. So let's go and call this one main2 like this. All right. So now if we're going to do this, it will tell us that we actually have two different ones and it doesn't know which one to run. And so now if we do -m main, for example, it's going to run this one. And if we run main2, it's going to run that one. And there's also a longer version, which is main class like this. Let's also see formatting real quick. Let's do git init, git add dot, git commit -m initial commit like this. And now we're going to cat into oh yeah, I need to do this. Git config global user.email a@b.com, and well, the same thing pretty much. Username is going to be, oops, it's going to be Vlad. All right, so initial commit, there we go. So if we cat into main1.scala, and now if we do a Scala CLI format dot, it will actually download some stuff. And now it formatted some stuff, git status, git diff. There we go, we just added the spaces. Let's actually do a hard reset because I want to show you that you can do Scala FMT tag. v3.1.0 is the latest one, but I'm not sure if it's published yet. Oh, it looks like it's published because when I was preparing for it, it wasn't actually published. Oh no, missing version 3.10. Okay, so let's try 3.08. There we go. And this one will actually, yeah, so this one actually worked. There we go. And yeah, even though there are many other commands, you can have a look at them at your own pace. The documentation is really great, as already mentioned. Now let's get to the more exciting part of the video, which is the bug report. And obviously, as we move along, we're going to learn about a couple of other features in the Scala CLI. Now we're actually going to switch to my other distribution, the one that already has everything installed, except for the Scala CLI, of course. However, because I'm using WSL, all of the WSL2 distributions run under the same IP. So I actually need to turn bloop off. So we're going to do a Scala CLI bloop exit because otherwise it's going to get a little bit confused. All right, so let me go over here and I'm going to launch my Dev Insider distribution. This is the one that I usually use when I record my videos like this. All right, so it doesn't have the Scala CLI installed, so let's actually go and grab this command again. I'm going to paste it in over here. It should be a little bit faster this time actually because I have a bunch of stuff installed. All right, so let's actually go out, go back in. All right, and let's also do a Scala CLI install completions because now this is the SH. Okay, so let's go back out, go back in, and let's see if I can do Scala CLI -RE tab. Yeah, there we go. REPL, it works. Okay, so it works for both bash and for ZSH. However, when I try to use apt to install it, I didn't manage to get it to install completions. It just couldn't find the binary. It's a minor thing. I'm sure it's going to be fixed soon. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a directory under dev, and we're going to call it bug report. By the way, take is a ZSH alias. It creates a directory, and also it goes in there. All right, so there we go. There's nothing inside. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you my alias, which is v, and also this one, which is nvim. So I'm going to create a file called good.scala. So in the end, we're going to have two files, good and bad. Good is going to show you that what should work actually works with Scala 3. However, if we're going to try to use exactly the same thing with cats, it's actually not going to work. So we're going to have a file called good and we're going to have a file called bad, okay? And since we're doing very small things, Vim is actually going to be enough, okay? So we have good, and I'm using Biobu, which is just a wrapper around Tmux, so I can split my screen like this, okay? So down here, I'm going to do Scala CLI, and I'm going to run good.scala, and I'm going to watch, right? So this is the watch command from Bloop. So it will notice when things are going to change, it will rerun the file. And as you can see, it understood that I already have Bloop installed and I already have Java installed, so it actually didn't have to install anything, which is great. As you can see, it actually uses my Java, which is the GraalVM Community Edition Java 17 and Graal 21.3.0. It also says file not found because this is just an empty buffer. So let's actually go into main def main equals printline hello world like this. There we go. I'm going to save the file, and now it will actually do something and eventually run it. All right, so as you can see, it's compiled projects with 302. However, the Scala CLI has an awesome thing called, I believe it's called directives. So you can just go over here and you can say using Scala 3.1.0. I'm simply going to save the file, and it will understand that it needs to rebuild stuff, re-download stuff. This is really, really awesome, by the way. Let me actually go real quick and show you this. I already have it open. It's over here under references directives. Yeah, I was right. It's called directives. Let me actually increase the font a little bit. So you can do a bunch of things. You can specify compiler options. You can specify the compiler plugins. It's the mill syntax or the Corsair syntax for resolving artifacts. You can add custom jars. You can add dependencies, which we're going to do, right? We're going to add cats in just a second. You can specify the Java home. You can specify that you want a different Java version. You can specify the JVM parameters, like all kinds of things. Scroll down through this page. It's really amazing, actually. It feels like it's a little bit more powerful than Ammonite, and obviously better than the Scala REPL. All right, let's actually go back over here. Since we're playing, let me actually show you a couple more options. Okay, so if we go over here and do Scala util chaining, right? Like, and by the way, we should have auto completion at some point. I'm actually not sure about this. Okay, so we go over here, then we can do something like by, right? And we can do pipe, right? Pipe, which comes from Scala util chaining. We're going to pipe it into printline, and it's also going to work. However, if you specify a flag, something like using options -source future, right? Then it will use the future compatible version, and it will tell you that at some point this syntax will be deprecated, and we'll need to use these stars or asterisks like this. Okay, I'm going to remove it since we're just playing around. Okay, you can obviously also use it without specifying this flag, right? This flag is simply going to show you the warnings, right, if you don't use it. Okay, in fact, let me remove this, and also let me remove that like this. Okay, hello world is all we need. All right, so let me explain the bug to you. In functional programming, whenever ad hoc polymorphism is required, usually type classes are used instead of subtypes. In particular, type classes without variants. And so we run into issues with a type inference algorithm because the type inference algorithm usually infers the most concrete type. And so when we look for the type class instances, we actually can't find them. The classical example, the canonical example, is actually the option ADT. If you do something like sum1, then the inferred type is going to be sum. However, the type class instance for some type class is not going to be defined for sum, it's going to be defined for option. And so it's not going to be fine. However, a couple of things change in Scala 3. Let me actually use the Scala CLI to demonstrate a couple of these things. So we can do Scala CLI REPL good.scala. And so what this will do, it will actually put everything that is inside of good.scala into the class paths of the REPL. Right now we don't have anything, but we will in just a second. Okay, so for now, if we just do this and we do something like sum1, then you're going to see that the inferred type is sum and not option. This is also the reason why you have something like .sum in libraries like cats. In fact, let's actually go and add it real quick. We're going to go into this one, and we're going to go over here, and we're going to say using lib, and we're going to pass in the coordinates, double colon, cat's core, and the latest version is 2.6.1. Okay, so we're just going to save this. We're going to go over here. We're going to exit from here, launch to REPL again. Okay, and so sum1, the type is sum. However, one.sum, well, we actually need to import cats. Import cats syntax.all. We can actually use star, and we do one.sum, and the infer type is going to be option. This is exactly why these helpers exist. It's not just a syntactically more appealing looking thing. Now let's remove cats real quick. We actually don't need it right now, but we'll need it later though. So one of the things that changed in Scala 3 is that if you use the new enum keyword, the constructors, the factories that are generated for your for the members of the ADT, they actually by default return the type of the ADT and not their subtype. Okay, so if we use the names from Haskell and mimic the option type, so if we have a maybe like this, and we're gonna go with case just a, right? So this is gonna be the sum, and we're gonna have case nothing like this. So if we save this and I go over here and I simply launch the REPL again. So if we do something like, again, sum1, we're going to see that the type is sum because the standard library didn't update yet. However, if we do maybe dot just a, then we're going to see that not a1 obviously, then we're going to see that the type is actually maybe instead of maybe dot just one. And if you actually really need the subtype, then you can actually use the actual constructor. Okay, so this way the type is going to be maybe dot just. Now the reason that the option type didn't get upgraded is because between the Scala 2.13 and the Scala 3, the idea was that the Scala library should not change for beta compatibility. As of right now, Scala 3.1.0 is actually out, so they actually technically could have changed it, but I guess they didn't. And I have a hunch why they didn't, and it actually surprised the hell out of me when I was preparing for this video. I'm going to show you this a little bit later. By the way, we actually switch to the Ammonite REPL, right? So if we do AMM, right, like this. Oh, and by the way, we can't because it's not published for Scala 3.1. However, we can actually override the Scala version from the CLI, right? So this has, this over here has higher precision than this one, okay? So if we launch Ammonite, it will actually warn us that we have a couple of things defined, right, like this enum, but it's defined in the root package, and therefore we cannot access this, okay? So therefore, we're going to go over here and we're going to introduce a package. We're going to call it good, like this. Let's exit. Let's go back in. And now we're going to do something like, well, now we need to do good. That may be maybe just one, and it's going to work out. Okay, I just wanted to demonstrate the Ammonite REPL. Let's actually use the normal one because it's published for the latest version, like this. There we go. All right, so we're still in the good file, and what we're going to do is I'm going to create a type class that is present in cats. It is encoded slightly differently, and I believe that this is the reason why we have this discrepancy. And so everything that we're going to do in the good file is actually going to work out like a charm. In fact, it's going to work even better, and this is that thing that shocked me, but we're going to get to that. So the type class that we're going to use is semigroup, which is probably one of the simplest type classes in cats. Okay, so we're going to use a bunch of Scala 3 stuff to define it. So I'm going to call it semigroup, and it's going to be a semigroup for some A. Okay, a semigroup is an associative construct. It's an associative algebra, if you will, and it has only one method that can take two A's and combine them into one. Okay, so usually it will be defined like this: def combine A1, A2, A, and the result type is going to be A, and this is also how it is defined in cats. However, since we're in Scala 3, we'll actually use the extension syntax, okay? So we're going to do extension, and now over here, we're going to have the A1, okay? And therefore, we're not going to have it over here like this. And also, we're going to use the infix keyword, which actually wasn't required. It actually is supposed to be required, but maybe the Scala CLI has a couple of different defaults, so it actually wasn't required. I'm going to leave it here just for readability and to avoid confusion. So let me save the file, and let's actually spell this correctly. Okay, so this is extension. There we go, extension. All right, so let me create a little bit more space like this. There we go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to define an instance for a maybe. Okay, so we're going to say given, well, what do we want to be given? We want to have a semigroup for a maybe of A. Okay, now where does the A come from? It's not this A, it's probably a little bit confusing. This A comes from over here, right? It's this A, and we need a colon over here, okay? This is the syntax, okay? So we're going to say this is a semigroup with, and it's going to have pretty much this thing over here, this extension, okay? So A, well, this A is actually going to be a maybe of A, like this. Let's find the next A, do the same thing, the next A, and do the same thing, okay? So this is going to be our combine. How we're going to implement it? Well, we're simply going to pattern match on one of them, and by the way, this is exactly why it's associative, because you could pattern match on the other one first. So we're going to do match, and we're going to do case maybe nothing. Well, then it's going to stay nothing. Okay, otherwise, if we actually have something, right, if we have, let's call it x, well, then let's actually take the next one and take it apart. Okay, so we're going to do a case maybe nothing. Well, it's going to stay nothing. Okay, but if there's actually something in there, and we're going to call it y, so now we have access to both of them, and so now we're going to produce another just, and inside of it, well, this should have been a dot. Okay, so inside of it, we're actually going to do x combine y. And how do we know that we actually can combine them? Well, it's because over here we're going to demand that this one is also going to have a semigroup. And unless I made any typos, it actually should compile. Yeah, there we go. It compiles. Okay. So now we need a semigroup, and I'm going to copy these two guys over here. We need a semigroup for ints, okay, because our a is going to be int. Okay, so we actually don't need this, we don't need the colon. I'm gonna find the am, I'm going to change everything over here to int. So we're gonna do this to int, and here again, and here again. There we go. So this is going to be our combine. This one is very simple to implement. We're going to combine them as follows. All right, so now we can go to our main over here. We don't need this anymore, and we can print out. Okay, so we can do maybe dot just one, and this is very, very important, right? Because the I'm sorry, what the hell am I doing? Maybe just one. And this is very important that the return type of just is actually going to be maybe. And since we have a semigroup for maybe, everything should work out just fine. Okay, so we're just going to do combine maybe dot just two, and everything will work like a charm. And it should work exactly the same in cats, but it doesn't. And at first I thought it's because, well, maybe I'm encoding the semigroup differently because I'm encoding it was using like these fancy features. Maybe they don't do it like that. But I actually tried with the regular combine, and it didn't help. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, since this will become an actual bug report, I'm actually going to go and I'm going to say over here that the type is inferred to, well, there's actually nothing to infer because just simply returns the type of maybe, and therefore the given is found as it should, right? So let's save this. Now, let me actually get to the point that completely shocked me. As we have seen many, many times, if we do sum1, the return type is actually, the inferred type is actually sum. So if we define an instance for option, if we do the same code over here with sum1 combined sum2, it actually shouldn't work. But for some reason, I don't know how, in Scala 3 it actually works. So let me actually go and I'm going to yank this entire paragraph and I'm going to insert it over here. So let's go over here and find maybe and replace it with an option like this. Okay, so let's do it over here as well, over here as well, over here as well. And yeah. All right, so let's go over here and let's do, so if it's none, then it's gonna stay none. I have no idea why it jumped like this. Let me do the same thing over here. So if it's none, then it's gonna stay none like this. I don't know why it jumps like this. All right, so this over here is gonna be a sum. Same thing over here, same thing over here. Okay, so now we have a semigroup for options. Now check this out, and this shocks me again. So if we do sum1, okay, combine sum2, then I have no idea how, but it will actually find this instance. This doesn't make any sense at all, and I have no idea how this works. This is probably some hack inside of the compiler. And I know this because if I print out and I will try to summon, right, I will try to summon the semigroup for option of int, like this, then obviously it's going to find it. However, if I do this for sum, it's not going to find it. And therefore, because it doesn't find it, this thing should not work. So I have no idea how it works. All right, so let me leave a couple of comments because as I already mentioned, we're actually going to create a ticket. Well, I'm going to create it off camera, but we're going to use exactly this code to create a ticket for cats. And I'm probably going to mention it. I'm probably also going to create an issue on the, in the Scala repository and mention the other issue from cats. Okay, so this one, no. Okay, so hold on. So this one compiles. This one does not compile. And over here, we're going to say something like, well, even though the type is inferred to some int, the given is somehow found. Okay, like this. Yeah, so this should be enough. Let's actually close the REPL so that we have a little bit more space. All right, so we're actually gonna exit Vim, right? Because we're kind of okay. So it says compilation failed. So let's actually do this, okay? Because I wanna have it running. Okay, cool. So let's actually close this, and we're gonna copy good into bad dot Scala like this, and we're actually going to open both good and bad inside of them. Okay, so we have good and we have bad. Okay, so inside of bad, we're actually going to go and change the package like this, and let's actually go down over here and let's start running bad. Okay, bad like this. All right, don't show again. I don't want Scala FMT because over here Mattels woke up because the Scala CLI actually generated the .bsp directory and .boop directory, right? So what did it generate? .bsp, yeah, there's .mattels, there's Scala and everything. Okay, so first of all, we need to include cats again, right? So it's going to be org type level cats core 2.6.1. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to import cats. We only need the semi-group, right? And therefore we don't need our semi-group. And we're going to import cats syntax. Well, let's just import all, and let's use the new fancy syntax. Okay, so since we're in a different package, we're going to define the enum again. Okay, so let's remove this. All right, so we still need the semi-group for maybe. However, as already mentioned, it's going to look like this: combine A1, maybe A, and A2, maybe A, and it's going to produce a maybe A like this, and come on, and the equal sign. Okay, so we don't need this. All right, so we don't need the semigroup for option because it's defined inside of cats. We also don't need the semigroup for int because it's also defined inside of cats. There we go. Okay, so this is a bit smaller. Now let's actually go to the main, and well, let's actually comment out everything for now. Okay, let's actually throw everything out. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to focus on sum first because it doesn't work as it shouldn't, right? I mean, as it should not work. Okay, so if we do print line, right? So we're not even touching, the maybes. Okay, so if we do like sum1 and we do combine sum2, okay, it's not going to work. Right, it's going to say, hey, where's the semigroup for sum? We don't have it. Okay, so it basically says value combine is not a member. Maybe it's a little bit more. No, it doesn't. Okay, this is exactly the reason why we have something like, whoa, that's not what I wanted. Whoa, what is happening? I said YYP. What the hell? My layout probably changed. Yeah, it changed to German. I don't know, like sometimes I press something and it changes the layout, and there we go. All right, so let's go here, and this is exactly why we do one sum, combine, and the second one doesn't really matter, so we can keep using sum over here, right? So this one works because somewhere inside of cats, there's actually a semi-group. Okay, this is something weird. It should actually work. Let me actually go and try cleaning it. Scala CLI. Blue clean. Well, actually, I can. I just remembered that we can actually do a Scala CLI clean dot. Okay, maybe that's gonna help. And let's see. Yeah, it does. Yeah, I knew that it was something super weird. Okay, so again, like this thing works. This is exactly why we have it, because the return type for .sum is actually option. But this one doesn't work, and it shouldn't work. So I have no idea how it worked for good. Okay, so if we go over here and go run good again, and good is over here, right? Somehow like this thing works. Okay, even like after a clean, so it was not some weird incremental compilation issue. Now again, let's remove this one and go over here and actually grab these two guys, okay, and put them over here, right? So this compiles the same as was, we're actually running the wrong one. Let's actually run bad, all right? So this compiles the same as it compiled before, right? Because there is a semi-group for option. However, there is no semi-group for sum, like as it should. Okay, so in fact, like in this file, we probably don't even need these guys. All right, so we're gonna leave it like this. Now I'm showing you this. However, this is actually not the most important thing for me. Like this was just a surprise. The most important one is what actually happens to the just. Okay, remember, because if we do maybe dot just, you know, the type is actually going to be maybe, right? But still, this thing doesn't work somehow. It says compilation fail. And check this out. And this shocked me. This is how I knew that this is a bug. Probably in the Scala 3 compiler, but again, we have the good, so over here it works. So it has to be something related to both the Scala 3 compiler and the encoding cats. Check this out. We're not going to help out with the types. We're simply going to extract a variable. I'm going to call it maybe. We're going to do maybe just.1. So nowhere over here, nowhere we're specifying the type. We are not helping out the compiler. Okay, so if we go over here and I'm going to change to space, I'm going to put in maybe. Somehow, magically, it works. And this is how I knew that it was a bug, right? Because it's simple substitution. It should work, right? Maybe just one. Okay, it should work, but somehow it doesn't find the instance. Since this is going to be a bug report, I'm actually going to paste something that I prepared, right? So it's basically exactly the same thing, right? So I'm saying over here the type is inferred to maybe just int, even though it should have been maybe int, and therefore this one does not compile, okay? And over here the type for some reason is inferred to maybe int, and therefore the given is found as it should, and therefore it compiles, okay? And then we have the same thing for the sum. And by the way, this trick for the sum, it doesn't work, right? So if we do this, it's still not going to help, right? So it only works for that thing. Don't ask me how, don't ask me why. It's definitely a bug. All right, so let's actually close everything, and I'm going to use the GitHub CLI, and I already have a video about it, to create a gist. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to say gh, which is the GitHub CLI, gist create. And when you're going to create it, please actually open this in the browser, and we're going to add multiple files. You can actually add multiple files to the same gist, and it's somewhat optional, but you can actually specify a description as well that I just copy pasted from my. Okay, this is exactly what I thought would happen. Okay, so yeah, so this is what I want to have as a description. Download the Scala CLI and run Scala CLI, and then link to this gist, and then specify the main, right? So with good.main or bad.main, and we're going to close it over here like this and like that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now it actually creates a gist, opens it in the browser. There we go. So this is what it says. I'm actually going to increase a little bit, download the CLI and run Scala CLI, link to this gist, -m, good main or bad main. Okay, so we're going to have like bad and we're going to have good. Okay, so let's pretend that we're actually the people who want to debug this thing. Okay, so we're going to copy this. I'm going to go over here. Remember, this is my distribution from before. I'm actually going to go and create a directory over here. 2, okay, and I'm actually going to go cd into 2. Okay, so this is the empty directory. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to do Scala CLI, okay, and I'm going to do paste over here, and I'm simply going to press enter, and that's it. Okay, and now it's going to tell me that there are 2 main methods in there, and I will be forced to specify one of them. Actually, what's happening right now is that it is hanging, and it's hanging because I'm using WSL2, and I should have terminated bloop in the other distribution. Okay, so let me actually go and do bloop exit over here. Let's close this one. Okay, so let's try this again, and now it's going to work out just fine. Okay, well, it's going to tell me that I have two main methods. Okay, so it downloads cats. There we go. We have 2 main methods. So I'm going to do bad.main, and there we go. Just a couple of seconds. And there we go. It runs my thing. However, it actually didn't download the files. Like, I have no idea where the files are. I believe it never actually stored them. However, there is a trick, right? So we can do wget, and actually, I think I accidentally closed the browser. So we're actually gonna copy this, and I want to open the browser like this. All right, I'm gonna paste this over here. Okay, let me actually go into full screen. I like it when things are in full screen. So what you can do is you can click on raw over here, right? And you can grab this URL, and you can just basically download this file. Okay, there we go. Therefore, it's simply over here. And as we all know, we can just do a Scala CLI bad.scala. All right, so this is not just a toy. This is actually a super useful tool, even for people who know what they're doing. In fact, in this particular case, we can also just do a Scala CLI dot, because we have only one file, and it's also going to run it. Okay, so we can actually download the second file from good. No, this is a bad one. This is the good one. Raw and copy. Actually, was there like a copy button? No. Oh yeah, there is a copy. Copy file to clipboard. Okay, that's not what I want. All right, so wget this one. Okay, and now that we have both of them, if we do this, it tells us the same thing. Hey, you have 2 main methods, so then we can do bad.main, and there we go. It runs the bad one, and we can run the good one if we want. And yeah, it's all good. Awesome. So now I'll create a ticket. I'll do this off camera just to save some time, and I'll include the link in the description box below. And as I already mentioned, I hope that even if you are a professional, you actually have witnessed that this is not just a toy, that is actually a very, very useful tool, because it allows you to very, very quickly switch between versions of Scala, of the JVM. You can run the REPL real quick, and you technically don't have to install anything, and it even comes with auto completions. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I see you in the next one. For now, as always, it's been Vlad from devinside.com. Don't forget to like this video if you did, subscribe if you want to improve the developer inside you, and if you learned something today, consider supporting me on GitHub sponsors or Patreon, whichever you prefer, and let's watch my videos weeks and sometimes even months before everyone else. And most importantly, take care.